Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in, and I'm your host Tip Top Tim Fitch, and welcome to the first episode of our new Invennt Luxe podcast. Today we'll be diving into the following topics. First one, how Invennt got into the luxe, or in particular the fashion industry, what value we've been able to provide to the industry, and also some examples of work we've done over the past year or so, which sort of illustrate the opportunity for everyone in that sector. Joining me today for today's podcast is Maggie Xu.
Hello everyone.
Hi Maggie, who's a senior business analyst with us. Welcome to the podcast, Maggie. Can you give our listeners a little introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello team. My name is Maggie. I joined Invennt around 3 years ago, and since then I've been working on R&D tax credit scheme. And about 1 year ago, something magically happened. I mean, it's not magic. It's just like any other business opportunities. It always starts with a mutual connection. And team got me this opportunity to work with fashion clients, and here we are.
That's great. We'll tell you more about it in the middle of the podcast. So, Maggie, it's great to have you on today. So we'll get started.
Yep.
So I suppose really the first question is, you've sort of intimated, is that for those that don't know, Invennt started life as a management consultancy in the construction sector.
Yes.
And of course that's still a very important part about what we do. However, we find ourselves now with a number of clients in the fashion sector, which is an interesting pivot. So I suppose I'll just fill in a little bit of detail about how we got our first client. So we've got many clients in the construction sector, all different types of businesses, lots of architects and property developers and engineers and contractors, as you might imagine. One particular property developer asked me one day whether we could help his wife's business, which was a very well-known fashion brand. Could they possibly claim R&D tax credits, which of course is a very important thing that we do. And that was the challenge, wasn't it, Maggie?
Yeah, definitely.
Would our processes work? Does the fashion sector do research and development as it's defined in the tax code? Not what everyone thinks up in their head sometimes. And could we successfully make a claim? So what happened?
Yeah, I still remember I was very surprised and also excited when I hear about this opportunity at the first place, because apparently it's brand new to all of us. But personally, I like fashion very much. I like the fabrics and the texture and the color, and I like the expression that we all think clothes are our choosing scheme, so you communicate through your clothes. And it was very difficult at the beginning, but thankfully we have developed this very mature and useful model to carry out technical analysis and financial analysis.
Let's just delve into that a little bit deeper, because I'm guessing if you're in the fashion sector or the luxe sector, you'd say, well, what was similar between construction and fashion? Because of course it wasn't obvious to us initially, but having been we trialled our processes in that sector, haven't we? And one thing that struck us is that product development cycle for developing a garment from the creative the creative concept through to a garment that works, those processes are, we found, very similar to the architectural design processes. Yes. And a bit of a light bulb went off then, didn't it? Because the other thing that's really interesting is, I mean, that process, they're very similar at a high level, obviously. the other thing that's struck us was that, so therefore, to take a single garment or a single accessory from concept through to working garment or accessory was like architecture. It's also like a project, isn't it?
Yes.
And then, of course, you don't normally just do one garment at a time, do you? There's a collection.
Yes.
Usually seasonal, but there are other types which have many garments in them.
Yeah. So like our clients, most of them, they have 2 to 4 collections per year. And that's totally different with fast fashion, as we know, because they have like 52 collections per year. I'm not even joking. That's how they made it. But for our clients, they really took effort, spent time to work on each collections, because it's few around the whole year. And it's very often they start to search the most suitable, sustainable materials, and then they spend 1 to 2 months to treat the fabrics to make it right. And then it comes to the long process of sampling, experimentations, and size trials. So it does take a very long time, and I do feel like those effort and time, they need to be appreciated, and that's the whole R&D tax credit scheme about, to encourage innovation. And as you mentioned before, Tim, about the similarities between construction and fashion, I was very surprised because it didn't take long to find the similarities. For example, constructions companies, when you for both construction or fashion designers, when you try to do something special about the structure and the shape, you have to make sure it won't collapse, whether it's a building or it's a garment. And secondly, for architects or engineers, they do for the prototyping process, right? They often start to doing something with a small scale, and once that succeed, they move that to a larger scale. That's totally the same with the garment making process. So I think it's very interesting. And also, it's not only about garment making, because we also look at aspects like sustainability, manufacturers, or IT development. That's many areas to look at R&D.
Yeah, I mean that's what really caught our eye, wasn't it? The fact that the industry is looking at similar problems that the construction industry has been facing around sustainability is a very good example. The fact that a collection is a group of individual projects or garments. You have garments in the fashion industry, projects in construction, but programs of work is what the construction industry is about.
Mm-hmm.
Fashion's the same, you just call it a collection rather than a program. And of course, during a year, you may have 2, 4, 6 or many programs or collections that you're dealing with, which have this development process within them. And that's what was so enlightening for us when we saw that and we put 2 and 2 together, light bulb flashing off, all the other sort of cliches. Yes, our stuff's going to work, and there's a lot of money to be found for our fashion clients, because we know that kind of effort, that development work, is rewarded by the government through their R&D tax credit scheme. So whether you're large or small, there's a reward to be had which you're entitled to. It's government policy, it just happens to be administered by HMRC, and that was what was so exciting for everyone, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I know that on the first report we both worked quite late into the night, because obviously for us, what we found with R&D tax credits the whole time, it's been about translating tax speak into the language that the particular industry understands. And of course we'd done that for construction, and then it was like learning a new language, wasn't it?
Yes.
We had to understand the language of the fashion sector, which we've sort of done so far. And then the other thing is, although our processes at work we needed someone who knew the technology, which I'm glad to say we found someone brilliant at that who will be on a later podcast. So we'll introduce the Boaz later.
Yeah.
But I think that's the message, that there's a lot of money which has been expended by the industry developing new garments and accessories, dealing with sustainability. I know we've got an example of one of our clients who pivoted into PPE for the COVID and had to develop all sorts of things there, which we'll talk about a little bit in a minute. And IT, and I know some of our clients are looking at all sorts of very, very interesting, exciting stuff to do with retail. Some, not all of that costs, but some of it counts as research and development as it's defined in the tax code, which isn't always the same way that we all think about R&D. It's not all about people in white coats. Well, that can be, but it usually isn't. Okay, that's great. So let's just dig in a little bit so that our viewers and listeners get an idea of the sorts of things that we've found. With that, we don't want to sort of give away any trade secrets from our clients, but let's just talk about a generic garment development process. What are we looking for? What have we made successful claims?
Yeah, I can give a few examples about what we've claimed before in very vague language. Pardon, bear with me. As Tim mentioned, we have this client. They respond very quickly regarding the COVID pandemic. So they developed the first reusable and washable PPE gowns, and that can be washed over 70 times. That was a very successful claim. And we also have this quite normal garment making claims when our clients, they try to do some very innovative shape on a dress. You know, when the fabric is very stiff, it's easy to manipulate the garments to make the shape. But when the fabric is very soft, they actually have technical uncertainties to manipulate the structure. But they had to develop new ways to fix the garment and make it fit. Yeah, so that's another claim.
And that type of activity looks like people literally with a sewing machine and draping multiple times.
Yes.
We call them experiments. Others might say trial and error. We prefer the word experiment.
Yes.
Many times to get it to look right, wear right.
Yeah. Be
robust enough to last more than one wearing and all of that sort of stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
What about we've had claims for special fabrics that have been developed, haven't we? I remember there's some very clever ones.
Yeah, we do have that one. So for that one, our client, they want to achieve this sort of shining look, and that cannot be achieved through normal fabric. So they have to play the different combination of yarns and to mix metallic yarns with normal yarns to make it stiff and also shiny. And that's how they created the first type of metallic fabric. That one was very, very interesting.
That was, I was amazed that this sort of stuff happened. And I thought the other one that was of interest was there's a sort of not so much a trend, but there's people have been experimenting a lot with printing on fabrics of different types and all sorts of experimentation going on.
Yeah, that one was a really complicated one. I'm not even sure I can make the sequence right, because I remember it's about the layers. Like you need to press it first and printing, or you have to print it first and spray and press. It takes many steps, and our clients, they have to take several trials to find out the best sequence so they can get the best outcome. Yeah, that one takes a lot of experimentations, I remember.
And just on those sorts of things, I mean, obviously the output of our work is that our client gets a report, which comes in two parts, really. It explains what the research and development activity has been, and then there's a bit that quantifies
Yes.
what that money's spent, because these claims are always historic, aren't they? So how many years back can you go?
We can only go back to 2 years. Yeah, according
That's
to
from a particular financial year end,
Yes.
isn't it? So,
Yes.
and the reason for that is that that's just the latest time that you can adjust your corporate tax return, isn't it? 2 years after it was originally due. Okay, and just give some outlines of the types of cost that, or the cost headings that can be included in those claims.
So we can look at your labor cost, your direct labor or indirect stuffs, and also the material cost or sampling cost for fashion terms. And if you hire freelancers, if you have EPW to provide internal workers for you, that cost we can look at as well. And if you have spent some time or cost to develop any new softwares, that we can look as well.
And sometimes you can include subcontract costs.
Yes, that's the freelancers.
Freelancers, yes. Okay. So quite a broad range of costs, and usually, and it's a big part of fashion brands' costs, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, I think on that note, let's wrap up this conversation. It was very insightful, and thank you for joining me today, Maggie. I know we've both been on a bit of a journey with this, which has been it's been great. I mean, I'm going to go slightly off script here. I mean, Maggie has done brilliantly over the past year or so, and there's been a few ups and downs because it was a bit stressful at the start. We've come through it. You're stronger, developed massively, really brilliant. So wonderful. And to all of our listeners today, thank you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's the first one, and if you did, then please subscribe. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next episode, which will probably be in a couple of weeks. We hope to see you at our up and coming webinar on September the 9th. Information to register is in the description below, and if you bump into us during London Fashion Week, don't forget to say hello.